on, kissing babies and hugging fat girls.
He's alive! Kane is alive, Undertaker!
You are a sniveling little suck-up sellout full of suffering succotash, son!
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
And your t-shirts are too tight too, Billy! And you book a match with me against Ryan Keelan! Look at me! I'm a total package! I will rip him apart! I'm pissed now!
Where to, Stephanie?
It's Working Stiff, starring Scott Chaplain and Robert Karpeles.
Oh, you didn't know? Well, your ass better call somebody. And that someone you're calling is probably the unemployment line if you are the Road Dogg. Welcome to Working Stiff. I'm your host, Robert Karpeles, joined, as always, by Scott Chaplain. Scotty, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I am on hour, I believe. Hold on, because I'm making sure I have this right. I'm on hour 41 of a 72-hour fast, and I feel good right now. Yesterday I was a little cranky, but I feel good right now.
What is this, Ramadan? What is going on here?
I just decided to do it. I was like, after the roast of Jersey, I was like, I got to do something. 'Cause I was stuffing my face while writing for that for the last 2 months. So yeah, I was like, all right, I'll do a 72-hour fast, and I feel really good right now. And then I have a feeling at 8 o'clock tonight I'm gonna want to punch a wall. So my plan is to just force myself to go to sleep early. Is the plan.
Now, for clarification, when you're still drinking water, though, right?
Oh yeah, I'm drinking water, but that's it. That's it. And a lot of people say you can have bone broth. I haven't yet. I do have the bone broth, but I'm trying to not touch it. And of course, people go, "Oh, use electrolytes." I just haven't bought them, so that's not happening. So it's just been water. So
Good for you.
And you know the plastics that's in the water, that's worse than anything else. Yeah.
Stop. It's microplastics. It's I'm pretty sure that would be like a little person women's division of like the early 2000s. Like just like little person, like dwarf women with breast implants.
Dude, the microplastics. Oh,
I'm
yeah,
all in.
I love that.
I am all in on that. Guys, now the Road
you know
Dogg's
who's
gone,
all out, though?
hire me. Right.
Gosh dang, Brian James. Let's
That's
go back
why
to him.
Started the show. Yeah, that's literally 5 minutes before we're about to start the show. News came out that Road Dogg is gone. So I guess that's going to fix everything.
All right. So, okay, there's a few things we can lay out here, right? One is he was let go, right? Which right before Mania, I mean, what, 6-7 weeks before Mania, that's pretty interesting and pretty controversial and kind of admitting some things that, hey, because he's the SmackDown writer, I believe.
He is the SmackDown writer. And ironically enough, SmackDown's been kind of the better show.
Right. But I think leading into Mania, it is, the confusion that has been going on with the World Championship. You could make an argument like, you haven't laid out plans properly, right? Let's just say, so he gets fired. 2 is he actually has a disagreement about something and left on his own volition, right? Let's use words I don't know, but I've heard other people say, right? He does a thing like that, right? Now, here's my guess. It's a part of that stupid-ass show. He's on the show.
No.
It's a part of the Netflix show. Yeah, dude. They're ruining everything about wrestling by making this show. And I don't mean everything about wrestling. I mean everything about the things that show touches go to shit. And I mean
it's
like
awful.
Jey Uso.
It's the worst decision WWE probably has made in the last few years, was that WWE Unreal show. They now feel that they need to over swerve everybody, which is probably what, and I haven't even watched season 2 in all honesty yet. But the idea that they needed to do the Seth Rollins fake injury which then ultimately led to a Seth Rollins real injury. The Jey Uso can't catch his breath when he's coming down the ramp, so now it's all we notice. The excuse me, as I'm burping like Dan here. The whole thing with R-Truth getting fired and then brought back. It's all content for a Netflix show that, I mean, who gives a fuck?
I think part of it is, guys like Road Dogg and Hunter, it's when they realize the cameras are on them. I mean, it's the writers' room and they get to have cameras on them. And so, of course, they're going to want to work on it and think it's awesome and push it to continue happening. It gets to put them in the spotlight.
I think so, but I think that part of the issue is a certain individual. Let's call him Dan G.
Danhausen. Let's call him
Let's call him
Danhausen.
Danhausen. Let's call him Dan St.
Dan St. Hausen. Yeah.
At one point, I was having a conversation with that gentleman while he was on sabbatical in the greater Connecticut area. And he's just like, dude, they just started putting fucking cameras into the writer's room. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
then he's just like, all of a sudden, everything that was already ramped up and uncomfortable becomes like 100 times more ramped up and uncomfortable because you've been in writers' rooms before. You literally were just in one for this New Jersey roast. I've been literally in the WWE writers' room. That is not a place for cameras to exist.
Well, also, I would feel like my rights were infringed. Yeah, I would be very, I would be very unhappy about it because I'd be like, even the stuff you're not going to use down the road, you could eventually use. Like, that's the problem with these contracts, and you know how these contracts work. It's like, they're we own you contracts, and
but they're
that's
also
not
it's not even we own you
fun.
contracts. It's you have to be very honest in a very mean and hurtful way about talent. And I literally, in a microcosm, this just had we had our Boca Raton Championship Wrestling show over the weekend. And in just having those creative conversations and meetings, there's a little bit of brutal honesty. And if you're WWE and you're in that writer's room, you need to be able to say stuff that is not politically correct. And I'm not saying that, hold on, I'm not saying anything that's like they're using racial slurs, something like that, but they're going to say things like, so-and-so is looking kind of fat right now, or what's going on with so-and-so's hair. They're not doing well on these promos. Who's going to look the best in a poster? This person's kind of ugly. Like a lot of really uncomfortable, shitty stuff that you kind of have to talk about because they're not just people, like they're characters as well as people.
Yeah,
and that's a tough world to be in, where now there's cameras that are rolling all day in the hope that they're going to catch something that's unique. But if you catch something that's genuinely interesting on this show and not manufactured, it's going to start fucking with someone's genuine livelihood.
I guess what I mean is if the show is real, they filmed him on some level no longer being there. If not the issue that, oh shit, now that cameras are here, now we have to let you go because you said something or did something, or, again, more and more news will break, but we just found out, and that's like, that's a big one. I mean, it's not big in the sense that how many times as a wrestling fan have you, whether it was WrestleZone and, on a PC in the early 2000s, like you've seen, Road Dogg has been released. I just wonder what it means. I wonder if Hunter's going to make a post.
What's funny is every time he leaves, he winds up kind of going scorched earth and then gets brought back.
Oh, him and Billy Gunn would go scorched earth, man. I was always so surprised how angry they were because even back then we knew the position Hunter was in. And how easy it would be to just be like, hey, we're friends, we have memories together, and then you get to win. I mean, Now he's got to see Hunter and HBK succeed, and I don't see Tony Khan hiring him, and so he doesn't get to hang out with Billy Gunn either. Where does he go?
I guess he's going back to his podcast that Dom used to produce.
Oh shit, dude! Dom's seeing dollar signs right now.
I mean, cent signs.
Oh man, I'm excited for him.
Yeah, well, this is big news for Dom, and strange news for everything else in the
There's
wrestling
the
world.
TNA factor too. There could be a weird TNA thing where all of a sudden, because did they word it released? Is that, or did they say like exited or some shit?
It really,
Released.
it's still kind of like immediate breaking news. Is that he's like departed, but we don't have full clarity in what that actually
Departed.
means.
Like, well, I mean, what if it's like, hey, look, we can't pay you such and such, but TNA is going to hire you in like the Scott D'Amore position, and you're going to actually make more money. You never know with these guys, man.
That's true. I don't see him winding up in TNA just because TNA. I mean, they've got a pretty good core at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know they got rid of Scott D'Amore what, like a year and a half ago or something. D'Amore.
Scott Demore. Well, yes, and he started his own company, which is sort of like that Canadian feeder for AEW.
Right, I've seen that. Yes.
Wrestling's a weird business, and the funny thing is, these guys are never ever coming back. They're dead to everyone. And then in 6 months' time, like Scott Demore is going to be back in TNA. Who the fuck knows?
You got to get him for BRCW.
Who's Scott Demore?
No, Road Dogg.
Oh, fuck that. No,
You
we got we
have
got
to.
we got high standards. That's why I was hanging out with Mr. Matt Riddle over this weekend. Had
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
3 solid days of Matt Riddle. That's a lot of Matt Riddle.
Dude, I
He's
remember thinking Matt Riddle was going to be the next Brock Lesnar, dude. I swear I was that naive. I remember I had dream matches because, especially on the indies, when you would see Matt Riddle wrestle in like, I don't even know the years, maybe 2019, 2020,
2018 is when I started working with him at a
Okay, yeah,
company
something
in
like that.
Orlando. Made one talk
And
about.
everything is smaller, and so he looks even bigger and
Well, and
just
also how that
kicking
his
ass and
his
barefoot. And
partner, his partner was Jeff Cobb. So Jeff Cobb is already a tiny individual. Riddle is a tall dude. I think I sent you a picture like Riddle and I. Like I'm 6 foot. Riddle's got a couple inches on me. Birth. Just
yeah,
to clarify that, but
and I wanted him so bad to sign with AEW because I needed to see that Omega match again in my head. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then he goes to WWE, and I was like, I don't quite, okay, whatever. But then it was just working with how, like, he became like a kind of a silly character, and he rode around in a scooter, but it worked. And RK Bro worked, and now it's like
it
he's
worked.
persona non grata, man.
RK Bro
He's a
worked. I
goner.
mean, yeah, no. I don't think he's a legit goner. I think he will, at some point in time, wind up back in there in some capacity. I wouldn't be shocked.
You're talking WWE? I see.
WWE, yeah.
Interesting. That's like a Rumble entrant?
I think a Rumble entrant. I think a surprise. I wouldn't be shocked if at some point they're like, we'll bring Matt in for something, and then see where it goes. Wouldn't surprise me. There's not that many guys that are out there that you can bring back that are relatively young and can still go.
Yeah, I mean you might be right.
And also they've relaxed some of the issues that were problematic for Riddle in terms of their positions on weed.
Well, sure, but I think there's more going on than just the weed issue with WWE and him. But I guess he is like a generation's Carlito, like like right? He's kind of like a funny character that could go.
He's a funny character. He definitely can go. He's still got a good look to him. He's still a good promo, and he's still a draw. So it'll be interesting to see what winds up happening with him. Something that we did see. We covered this in more detail on the Patreon, where we went in depth on the Elimination Chamber. But we saw who was in the box, Scott.
Oh, yes, we did.
And if only they would have listened to this show, they could have spared themselves a lot of headache.
Well, yes, and no.
Well,
I
you say yes and no. My point on the show, when we were doing our Elimination Chamber preview, was they've hyped up this box so much that if it's not Chris Jericho or The Rock, people are going to shit all over it. And if it's Danhausen, the audience is either going to be annoyed or they're not going to know who he is. And when he came out of that box, the audience was not happy. The way that they used Danhausen on Raw was absolutely perfect.
Correct. Yes. So that's the yes and no. Also, I think his entrance was really great at Elimination Chamber in that, and I've heard other commentators say it like it was stupid, like then the tiny poof of firework, and it's like that's great. That's his gimmick. That's funny. I love that. I think the theme song is like very Munsters. I'm all for that. I am all for what he did on Raw, where he cursed Dominic. Um, and he had a cute little promo backstage. What I also love about him is since he's been around for so long, especially at these signings and these cons, um, the moment Chicago booed him, and they did boo him because you're right, WWE. The issue is they should have advertised the box as a silly thing in the first place. Like they should have been rolling their eyes the moment they got it, acting like it's stupid, calling it a Looney Tunes looking ass box, so it's nothing serious. So it's gonna be silly. But instead, yes, it looked stupid to us, but they all presented it like, well, we're gonna open it at the thing. And it's like play it like it's going to be a failure, so when it's a silly guy we get it. But anyway, I think the failure is beneficial because like I said, because he was at all these cons, now that everybody booed him, it's like the whole wrestling world is getting behind him. And I saw D'Lo Brown make a post where, because Danhausen was at a con where he took a picture with the entire nation of domination, he was saying he's like an honorary member. Just
Because
so
he's
many
wearing blackface.
black and white face.
Black and white. Yes, he's bringing everyone together.
Yes.
Which you gotta love. I think the best use of him is interstitial, jokey, whatever that played into bigger moments. So on Raw, Danhausen cursed Dominic Mysterio, and then Dom goes out there and loses the Intercontinental title, which I hate that decision to take the title off of Dom. I hate the every day on Rumor and Innuendo this week. I feel like I keep physically pushing the panic button that WWE is pushing because their decisions are so erratic and insane. But having Danhausen be the root cause of it, kind of funny.
Yeah, very, very funny. And again, it's like, is he actually doing this or is it happenstance? It's just like it's just
Correct.
a blast. It's just a
That's
blast. It's a
part of it.
blast. It's so fun. Um, but okay, the Dom Penta, because I watched Raw, buddy. Oh boy, did I watch Raw.
Oh, of all the Raws, this one was the most recent.
Really, that's how you feel about it? Because I'm telling you, my only issue with it was I was like, God damn, this is a long show. But other than that, I think I loved every segment.
You know what?
And match. I mean, I include match as segment. I mean, every little block
I'm
of
happy to
everything. Yeah.
dynamite or dud this fucking Raw then a little bit
I
because
mean, yeah, let's do a little bit. You can skip. Honestly, there's not much to skip, but yeah, let's go. Like on some
so I
level,
got it
yeah.
up. I got the fucking run sheet gimmick up here. Raw opened with what's left of the Vision. And part of the problem that they've run into is this story has gone about 25 different directions in a matter of months. So you're trying to make sense of everybody's basically hurt and none of the plans make sense. and they rush to bring Seth Rollins back at Elimination Chamber, and he's not technically cleared yet in storyline mode. So now the story of the Vision is Paul Heyman convinced the Vision to turn on Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins stole the credit for creating the Vision. He stole the credit for the heel turn at WrestleMania, and he stole the credit for creating the Shield, which is already a whole bunch of who gives a fuck. And then when a bunch of masked guys came out and Austin Theory and Logan Paul chased them away, you leave Paul alone in the ring like a bad Scream movie. And here comes Seth Rollins. He hits Paul Heyman with a chair. He curb stomps him, which means Paul is going to have to now be off TV for a little while. And you need Paul Heyman on television to sell this, whatever they're doing with the Vision, and the Brock Lesnar Open Challenge.
Okay, the Lesnar Open Challenge, that is fair. But also, what if you keep him off of TV this whole time? And maybe he just comes back at Mania for this Seth Logan match. Because and what I mean by that is also I feel like Brock is gonna lose at Mania, and part of it is Paul is nowhere to be found. He's hurt, you know.
But you advertise that Brock's going to be in all these different cities to do the Open Challenge. When you
Well,
have
yeah,
Brock,
that's where he just has to have like weird little segments with people. I don't know what they're gonna do with
but
that.
here's the issue though, Scott, because Brock on his own, and this is so weird, in 2026, Brock Lesnar on his own is weirdly adorable. He's like a kind of goofy old guy whose daughter's dating some goof, and you're kind of like, oh, Brock's not like a scary monster. He just seems like a wacky guy who goes to like country music concerts and keeps his wife chained to a radiator. So if Brock comes out on his own and talks, he can't not talk like, man, this is all fucking stupid, but how cool is it that I'm getting paid?
Well, on some level, I think play into that. One, you could
But not if
even
it's
just not
over.
have him talk. No, that's the thing.
That's
And
the
then
problem.
when he
Brock,
loses, to Oba, you always need an excuse for someone like Brock. So when he loses to Oba, and then when he goes to retire at SummerSlam, that's when Heyman's with him, and Heyman's like, "You didn't have me. I'm here for you. This is, I'm here to hype you up. Remember who you are."
I don't know.
Come
It's
on,
just,
let's
it's a
go.
weird thing to take Paul away voluntarily when you've lost Seth from the Vision, you've lost Braun Breaker, you've lost Bronson Reed. At least Heyman kept some degree of DNA. What I thought was even dumber is the thing in the back where they load him into an ambulance and the ambulance is being driven by LA Knight like this is a bad cartoon.
Dude, I loved that. So this is why I
The
love
fuck
all
is
of this.
going on? How are we? Like, this is
Dude,
like a Freaky Friday situation here.
dude, so I love the whole scramble of all these masked men coming out. So it's just Heyman. Now Heyman has him alone. But also because of that, Logan and Austin or Austin Theory are chasing
Goofs,
other,
random guys. Yeah.
goofs, yeah, other masked men. And then yeah, dude, Jay Uso, no, Jimmy Uso attacking Austin Theory. Dude, it was
Mm-hmm.
so good. Yeah, fist bumping LA Knight driving away. That's what the Attitude Era used to feel like to me. Like it was just kind of silly, but exciting enough because you're still beating up guys, and sirens are going off.
I mean, there's a part of me that hopes that LA Knight's new gimmick is that he's just going to be an ambulance driver.
But now, when you saw this, did you go, what tag match? I mean, we're getting tag matches.
I
We're
knew I had a
getting
feeling I knew where this was going, and we got there later in the show, so we'll talk about it. But the next thing was Gunther versus Dragon Lee, which it seemed like the whole reason you were doing Gunther versus Dragon Lee was to set up Gunther versus Ray. That Dragon Lee was defending the honor of AJ Styles, who was defending the honor of John Cena, and that Gunther was going to murder Dragon Lee, and then here comes Ray. And instead, we just got a match where Gunther ultimately beat Dragon Lee, and then no follow up.
I just assumed it's because there will be follow up. All I saw was what I thought was a hell of a match, and also what I saw was I think it's got to be Gunther and Ray.
It does have to be Gunther Ray, but it's I would have liked to have seen either Ray save Dragon Lee after the match or Gunther just continue to bully him. Instead, it was just Gunther won a hard fought match. It felt like you were missing an element of that story.
Sure, yeah. I just maybe they're not ready to pull the trigger. I think the real truth is they're still figuring it out, and maybe that's why Road Dogg left because it's like, hey, we should have this mapped out a little by now.
They
But I
really
think they're
should.
still like, and what I mean is like, there's some obvious match choices, and so it's like pull the trigger, and they're just not. But it's like pull the trigger on Gunther and Ray instead of going, but what if Gunther was Lesnar's? No, Gunther Ray.
You can't be this close to a very corporate WrestleMania and not have it mapped out. I get how it used to be. I get that it was like we're booking on the fly, but given the dollars that are on the line for this particular show, you can't be that cavalier. To that
Yeah.
end, AJ Lee comes out. She cuts a promo about beating Becky. She uses the word snatch a lot for a PG program. And then the gist of it was there's a lot of other women I want to face. So it's basically like, I'm going to have an open challenge. Goodbye.
Yeah, I didn't like it very much. I do like the match it sets up for next week's Raw, which is like a multi-women match that,
Yeah.
I'm assuming maybe Bailey will win, which I would love.
I mean, they were kind of teasing Raquel. They were kind of teasing Natty
Something about Bailey versus AJ I really like. I don't know why.
because it's two big names.
Yeah, that. Also, I think there's like a punk thing going on there. I don't mean punk rock, I mean like a CM Punk thing. Like I
And
think
that
Bailey is
Bailey is
CM
one of
Punk's
the,
favorite wrestler, and she
well,
could say
yeah,
that. Yeah.
it's very tough to find a woman on the roster that can work well with AJ and hasn't already fucked Punk. So I guess that's Bailey. El Grande Americano took on Rayo. I didn't even bother to look up which one it was, if that was Tyler or Pete, but whatever, it's fine. We're clearly getting the El Grande versus El Grande match.
Oh, we are, and I love this match so much, dude. This match was a blast. This match
Fun.
was when I was like, I'm all in on this episode. We got Gunther and Dragon Lee in this match. Both El Grandes do such a great job, and yeah, we are definitely getting the mask versus mask match, which is one of the things that it's not the end of the world. There's two nights in Lucha Libre. You could book five matches on throughout, but the idea that Gunther, unmasked Dragon Lee, and now Ray is going to be fighting Gunther in what could maybe be a retirement match. I hope it's not. And now you have like a mask versus mask match that's more of a spoof, but that I'm still all in on. I'm so all like I was crazy about this. I thought this was awesome. Yeah, anyway,
Rusev
sorry.
called that Obafemi, and then they brawled. It's going to be a good match. I kind of wish they were doing more with Rusev. I don't understand. When he was in AEW, we're like, they're really squandering Miro. It'd be great if he went back to WWE. Hunter would really go wild for this guy. And since he's been back, it's been like a Sheamus feud, and then he's off TV, and then another Sheamus feud, and then he's off TV, and now this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because I'm so set on Obafemi is going to be Brock Lesnar's open challenger. I actually think this is kind of great for Rusev if he like understands what his job is, and it should kind of be an honor. Like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I'm one of because also what they're doing is they're going like, okay, who's kind of like Brock that Oba can work with that, okay, he understands this is how it goes with another big man. And so I am super into this. I wasn't crazy about this just because I was confused because Rusev said like come out and have a match with me, but then they just like punched the shit out of each other, and I was like, is this? So I thought he was gonna have a match in his clothes. I was just confused, but yeah, I like the feud, and
We
it
got
ends next week. I'm assuming yes.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
got Jimmy Uso versus Austin Theory. Logan Paul interfered. Jey Uso comes out for the save. We had kind of hypothesized, and we're like, how do you save the Vision? And it was, well, put the tag titles on them. So it kind of feels like that's where this is going. I don't think this is going to happen at WrestleMania. I think this is going to probably happen in a week or two. That we're going to
Right,
get the
right.
Usos versus the Vision, and then either they win the tag titles or Rollins costs them the tag title shot.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the Mania tag match, but it's going to be a multi-man, so it doesn't even matter.
As I was saying, I'm kidding. We had to stop for a minute, or about a half hour or so, and I lost my train of thought. But I'm going to assume where we just left off, which would have been seconds ago, thanks to our amazing producer Dom, is that we were about to talk about this Rhea Ripley Io Sky segment that further typifies the stupidity and panic booking of our friends at World Wrestling Entertainment. So previously, we thought Rhea and Io are the women's tag champs because we're going to get a multi-woman tag match at WrestleMania, and it's going to be great. And instead, we're getting Rhea and Jade, which is already not going to be a great match. We compared it on the Patreon. I said, this is like Rock Austin at WrestleMania 15 when Rock was not ready to main event yet. And now you don't have anything for Io to do. And this segment literally was Rhea looking at Io and being like, well, you don't have anything to do at WrestleMania. And Io's like, it's okay.
That was a funny goodbye where I thought she would at least like give her another tag partner. I don't know why, but it was funny that she's like, yeah, you had to have this segment, but part of me thinks you could have had it backstage and it could have looked a little cleaner. But now, with that being said, now we all know like the Jade Rhea dramas that started Sunday, which they were tweeting at each other, and some say.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna get to that in just a moment, but yeah, we
Oh
can
well, no.
address
I
it.
mean, it's just. I think the one good thing about the promo was when she looked at the camera and um, she said, on SmackDown, she's gonna confront Jade, and it was a little more impactful because all day Monday we were talking about them, and so when she said she was gonna confront her, that was a big sell for Friday's show.
I we'll talk about it in a minute when we get to the main event segment.
Sure.
But before this, so it was Penta and Dom, and that panic button is getting an overtime workout because they decided to go put the Intercontinental title on Penta. And the message that sent to me was rather than doing Dom versus Finn in a one-on-one match that would have been great, made a lot of sense storyline wise, they put the Intercontinental title on Penta, and we're going to get like a 10-man bonanza match on Mania, which is never as good.
For sure, when I was assuming it was going to be Dom versus Finn for some reason, I
Because
don't
that's
know
the match
why.
that made the
Yeah,
most sense.
yeah.
Because Finn's been delivering of late. Him as the demon finding his inner baby face versus Dom would be a great match. It's a good spotlight for this title. And instead, what we're probably going to wind up getting, yes, is it's going to be a catch-all where we're probably going to get Penta and Dom and Finn and El Grande Americano and the other El Grande Americano
Oh,
and
I would
Javon
hate
Evans.
that. I would hate that.
That's what this feels like this is doing. Like every decision they've made of late is making shit worse. And I don't understand it.
Yeah, I
And
mean, also, I do have to say, part of the Danhausen versing Dom thing, I think that should mean that Dom goes on a losing streak,
I mean,
which is
yeah,
not, but I think it sets up his mania for, oh, we know where this is headed, unless, part of the gimmick is, oh, he has to have Danhausen in this corner in order to lift the the curse or some shit. But yeah, you're right. And every time I picture multi-man matches, whether it's tags or singles, I picture a ladder, and the IC title and Penta are perfect for ladders. So why not this be the ladder match?
and boggles my mind the most is this is not a knock on Penta. Obviously, we think Penta's great. And it's not a knock on ladder matches. They're fun. It's that none of this was the plan for any of these matches. No one from that, like, if you pulled Hunter into a room and put him under oath, and I know he's going to be under oath for all this lawsuit bullshit, which we'll get to in a minute, but and you go to him and you go, so you're telling me 5 months ago when you had your big board, it was Rhea and Jade, and it was going to not be Dom defending his Intercontinental title? Sure, that makes total sense. Like, I almost feel better that this was all panicky, that this was not their plan all along, because it is absolute garbage. And what I thought was absolute garbage still was the main event segment on Raw.
Dude,
Roman Reigns and CM Punk. What do you mean, shut up?
I love this. I love this.
It's because it's petty nonsense that has nothing to do with wrestling, and it's literally WWE Unreal, the feud. The story in this feud on television, on Raw, on Monday night, was CM Punk is tired because he has to carry all these segments because Roman doesn't show up for TV. And then Roman does show up, and Roman's like, look, you little bitch. Everyone hears you talking about how much you love working house shows and you love the locker room. We all know that in real life you hate this and you hate this job and you're so full of shit and all you do is complain and we all laugh at it. And oh, by the way, you used your creative control power to try to get me out of the Shield and it didn't work. This is not a main event of WrestleMania storyline.
I actually would disagree. I think, and maybe it's their own fault, but a lot of these, every time The Rock came back and the John Cena feuds, very, very personal, very, you left for Hollywood, you know what this is about.
Okay, but
I'm
that's
the real guy.
The leaving for Hollywood thing works if someone's a heel, because the idea is you should have been here fighting in this kayfabe world, and instead you went someplace else. It wasn't you left because you didn't like the creative that was presented to you. Which is, by the way, that's why I was going to talk about the Jade thing. Like, that was the Jade Rhea comments on Twitter, was like, well, Rhea, you're spending all this time kissing up to creative. None of this should be selling
that's
television
when
show.
that storyline, that's when it kind of, I was like, yeah, what is that?
Everyone knows my favorite episode of Breaking Bad was the episode where Walter White turns to the camera and just goes, Vince Gilligan, I don't like the way that you wrote these last two seasons. Get your shit together, or else I'm going to report you to the Writers Guild. What a great scene that was in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little, I don't know. This feels like the main event of WrestleMania this year, and I'm not saying it's like going to be the greatest thing in the world, but I think, and again, and we gotta acknowledge what the end of it was, which was Roman said he was going to retire. Punk, like John, oh no, he was basically like, I'm going to beat you up, and then you can go on a little, farewell tour like John Cena or whatever, and then Punk got very hurt by that and said, you're going to retire me. I'm going to bury you next to your father, something like that.
Yes,
and
that's exactly what he said.
Whoa. Yeah, and it was like, whoa. I liked that. It worked for me. Roman Reigns seemed very hurt and angry and shocked, which was cool because there's that level of like, oh yeah, Punk will go there. Yeah, everybody respects the tribal chief, but this is the guy who,
Max
tells the principal up yours or whatever. And so I liked how this ended. I will say they also need to follow up with, maybe CM Punk saying hi to Jimmy or Jay backstage and them not being okay with him because of what he said. I think they will do that. I think they like doing little not real details, but are details. I think, I don't know. I was just a fan of this, and Roman is going to get personal with Punk, which means Larry just died. So, pick a side.
Yeah, I'm the big dog. Where's your dog?
Yes, exactly. Oh,
But
exactly. What's up, big dog? And it's like, let's not bring up dogs. That's all he's got to say, you know? Oh, I
yeah,
remember the big dog. And it's like, oh, yeah, you know, and I remember, you know, your little dog or whatever the
yeah.
fuck. Yeah,
Which little bitch you talking about, Larry or AJ? And then it's like,
right.
okay,
Like,
which by the way, at least that in storyline, the tagline at the end of this, the idea that I'm going to bury you next to your father. The interesting story within wrestling to make this make sense is CM Punk is always the outsider, and he's the dude who had to fight from day one to get into this business. Whereas Roman was just born into it as a Nepo baby and just kind of lucked out. And the fact that all these Samoans over the years and all the members of the Anawayu family and all that all kind of capitalized on the fame of the past, whereas Punk had to build his own legacy from scratch. And this is his chance to main event WrestleMania as a champion. And he's going to be damned if he's just going to hand it back over to the establishment. Hey, that's a story.
yeah,
But this
yeah.
whole thing of everything you're saying to the fans is bullshit because you secretly hate this business and you're only here on a part-time contract and you're only available for a certain amount of dates. So I'm champion because I'm the only one who's making house shows. And then if you're only champion because creative plans changed, that's not what I want from WWE. I feel like I want a storyline that I'm invested in. And it's wild that AEW is delivering exactly the kind of storyline that you want to see from WWE, which is there's a champion, there's a challenger, they both want to be champ, and they're not going too insidery, which used to be their problem.
Well, sure, that is true. They are not going to insidery, and I'm sure someone could find a way to correct us. But no, it just seems like, and you know, the reason it feels like they're not going insidery is because they really do seem to live in their characters, and I don't just mean like, oh, when they're out and about in their lives. No, I mean like it seems like they only live there. Like it seems like they're a part of like this little AEW world that I'm a big fan of. That even where Dynamite, you know, the first match this week it is a world championship match, which would typically frustrate me because there's, you know, MJF is already defending against Hangman, but you know, everybody's been gunning for MJF in such a way that he is willing to, you know, give it to someone lesser because you know there's no chance that person is going to win. And so, yeah, I don't know if you want to get into Dynamite
Yeah, let's get in. No,
or
we can get into Dynamite. So I was ready to hate this show about halfway through it. So to your point, they open with this Kevin Knight MJF world title match, which felt like a very big match that just kind of spring on the audience out of nowhere.
well, yeah, I mean, you
They
know,
may have set it up on
Saturday,
Collision. Relax, relax. I'm sure it
yeah,
happened
Kevin
on
Knight cut a
Collision.
good promo on
I'm
Collision.
sure it
That's all I'm
was the
saying.
greatest thing ever and whatever. But who are we kidding? Everyone was watching Elimination Chamber. Um,
Yeah,
and so you had MJF
regrets, regrets.
win. You had MJF win clean over Kevin Knight, which was fine. I thought we were going to see some more cheating or something more nefarious. Instead, it was relatively straightforward. Yes, he tried to use the ring at one point, but like whatever. And then later, when it was Hangman versus some like fucking nobody, I'm going, this feels like what a heel would do. That the babyface champion defended in a straight up match, and the heel challenger is beating a tomato
Well,
can.
well, he did kick the ref to the ring ropes, and
No,
Kevin
there was
Knight
an, but it
fell.
was. I'm just saying it
But yes,
was.
I will say that was actually the one thing I did not like about this show. I liked the promo Hangman cut after,
But then it
but
made sense
he
with
did
where it
not
went in the
have to
main
beat
event.
up some jobber for no reason. Yeah, for
But it made sense, like it was because he needed to advertise that Hangman was going to be there, and then he was in action, which is why he doesn't appear in the beginning of the show. But the Kevin Knight MJF match was a great way to spotlight Kevin Knight, and I've been super critical of AEW for quite some time in that they introduce somebody and then the dude just kind of vanishes. They've been pretty consistent with Kevin Knight and Speedball, and they're making this guy feel fairly important. So I do like that. I respect that. It's kind of like what WWE has been doing with Javon Evans or Trick Williams or Obafemi. Max, that they plug
Yeah.
them in and that they're automatically there. And it's a way for Max to show like, hey, I can work with different style guys, kind of like what Moxley's been doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That's the end of my praise of Dynamite because the next match was the Dogs versus Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy.
Whoa, 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 whoa. This match was fantastic.
Who
They were
won?
going for it.
Who
I
won?
mean, Orange Cassidy won. Orange
Why
Cassidy and
the
Darby with a
why the
great
fuck
final
are you beating these
few minutes.
guys? Why are you
What?
beating these guys?
Because they're not complete yet until after the match. Bang with a shillelagh looking thing. I'm calling him a shillelagh because he's a Finley. Bang! David Finley in AEW. Look, do I care? No, not so much. But he can go. It does complete this group, this faction. I don't like that they're called the Dogs. In New Japan, they were called the War Dogs. There is this thing of like, oh man, like when guys get tired of New Japan, they will probably go to AEW. Now,
Now what?
which is AEW.
No, I like what struck me the most when when Dave Finley came out was my very first thought was I kind of wish Jay White was healthy.
Oh man, I know. But also that is something I thought when the Dogs were standing tall. I was like, I just wish, that group was the Bang Bang Gang was around because I enjoy them, and I think they could either be a group together or they could fight each other. But damn, Jay White's been gone for so long that I don't know what's going on. It seems unfortunate.
I mean, the Bang Bang Gang were kind of on TV for a little bit, like in some iteration where it was Juice Robinson and one of the Guns, and now they're all kind of gone again. And then here's the Dogs, which are part of the Death Riders, but not really. It's very murky and weird. And I think we talked about it on the Patreon that I felt like uh, Gabe Kidd might be one of the most squandered guys for AEW just because of how hyped we were early last year. And now that he's a part of the roster, it doesn't feel all that special. And that kind of sucks.
Well, yeah, and misused by New Japan after as well. I hope this does. I will say they use him constantly, just like Kevin Knight. Gabe Kidd is used constantly, but it's
Not in major like not in marquee spots.
well, yeah, well, honestly, I mean, and it's what's kind of obnoxious about what they do with some of AEW stuff is it's like, oh, he's been feuding with the same guy, even though they've had their final match 5 times, with him and Darby.
Well, Darby never seems to triumph in a feud. Like it never seems to definitively end.
Yeah, but he never dies either.
Oh no, he'll die. There was a Bandito Andrade segment in the back that I
I liked
wound
it.
up loving. So
Yeah, I liked it.
Bandito cuts this super marky kind of shitty promo where he's like, Andrade, I am so honored to be fighting you. And then Andrade goes like, all right, I don't know if it's going to be if you want if this is a fight or you're just a fan and you want a selfie. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
great.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. And also, and I wish he said it, and there's still time, I guess, next week or on Collision, because he tweeted to Bandito, Andrade tweeted to Bandito how, all I heard about was, oh, Bandito was the wrestler of 2025. Well, I'm the wrestler of 2026, and I'm going to let you know it. And it's like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That is my stuff right there.
The Brawling Birds took on the Inspiration. I guess we got a full-fledged tag division there in All Elite Wrestling.
Well, I mean, and the bigger story is they kind of squashed the inspiration, which
They
is,
did.
yeah, they came in and bam, squashed. So again, kind of, you know, some people argue about signings like this, but I think if you use them in a comedy way, they're pretty great. Honestly, I would kind of, and this is maybe just disrespectful of me, just have them be like backup for Harley. even though Harley's with Willow. But
Harley's
I
a
don't know.
babyface. Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
yes,
but
they
let them
could. You
be
can put
faces.
them. You could have put them with someone,
Yeah, but
but it's
yes,
kind of like
they're not
if you
going
just
to
needed
be
to bring
winning
them
though.
in, like you have Taya and Deanna, who I think are a better duo and are better wrestlers.
Oh yeah, but I honestly, the thing about Deanna is I want to see her win,
Yeah.
and I think if they put her on TV, they're just gonna have her lose, unfortunately.
Well, she's no Marty Snow, who Hangman beat in a few seconds.
See this poor guy.
MJF came out, cut a promo on Hangman. Ultimately, this leads to the Don Callis family attacking Hangman, this being Mark Davis, Kyle Fletcher, and Kazuchika Okada. Jet Speed made the save, and then Don Callis announced that it's going to be a six-man tag title match in the main event of Dynamite that night. So somebody remembered there were trios titles, so that's exciting.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, I was so pumped, especially
Uh,
because Kevin Knight was injured. So this is what I thought when Kevin Knight ran out for the save. I was like, oh, I'm so happy he's selling the match earlier. And then you
yes,
realize, oh, it's because he's having a match later.
that's exactly what I realized.
Yeah.
An FTR and Buck segment where Brandon Cutler got smacked, so automatically my favorite segment of the year.
Yeah, this was fine. What was good was on Collision. I don't know if it was this week or last week. They attacked the Bucks family that were sitting front row, like
Yeah,
Pie faced the mom, and then Pile Driven, his brother, Pile Driven, Pile Drove. But I don't know. But and
can't
that
believe
was
they
really good shit. And I just think when you're sitting across from them, it's like I know you make the oh you can't touch each other agreement, but it's like when they hurt your brother, the next thing I don't want to see you sitting at a table. The next thing anyway.
we got John Moxley versus Hechicero. And I guess we're doing this thing of John Moxley fights all the goons in the Don Callis family to get to Takeshita, even though Moxley's the champ. And Takeshita is basically like the babyface member of this group. But
Yeah, yeah.
you got to see Hechicero, and I know how much you love Hechicero.
I thought it was a really fun match. Moxley always shows up for work, man, and always wants to be on the show, and I can respect that because you are absolutely right. He does not have to go through anybody. He's the champion. But again, I think that's again that's that thing I like about this company where with the Death Riders, where it's like they're both heels, but there's a spectrum, and so Takeshita is shittier than Moxley, but he's not as shitty as most of the Don Callis family. And anyway, it's all
It's
very good.
it's wild that in 2026 that like the two MVPs are CM Punk and John Moxley.
Dude, on some level, you're right. On some level, you're right. Yeah.
Um, Brody King comes out for a promo to try to make sense as to why it's him and not Kenny Omega feuding with Swerve. Nana interrupts, and I don't want to use logic in wrestling because that's how my brain stops working. But this was a surprised, unplanned Brody King promo. Good thing Swerve just happened to be hiding somewhere in the building with his chain to attack Brody. That made me laugh. But yeah,
I love this though.
Swerve,
Yeah.
Swerve, it was fine. Yeah, no, the attack was great. Swerve hanging Brody looked vicious. They're trying to make sense as to why this isn't just a filler feud, but it's going to be a great fight with two MLW originals.
Yep.
Thunder Rosa took on Thekla. I forgot that they were in El Paso until this week. I was like, why is Thunder Rosa back? And then I realized, like, oh, here's why.
Yeah, I always, every time she returns, which was like a week ago, they immediately put her in a championship match and then make her disappear again. And I go, is that a contractual thing? Is that like, because they never actually use her. And like, this has happened a few times where she's gone, she returns. I go, oh shit, they're going to use Thunder Rosa. And then like a week later, she's in a championship match and then she's gone.
Wasn't the whole thing like her and Britt Baker didn't get along, and that was why they weren't allowed to be in the same place at the same time?
Yes, that was something, but then I think it also turned into like a lot of the girls disliking both of them separately. But again, I
Yes.
don't know. I mean, this is all rumor and innuendo. That's another show.
That's a net. Fuck that show. Tommaso Ciampa came
He's
out.
just standing there. He's just standing there. Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
standing ringside. I
He's just
love that.
standing
Yeah.
around and he wants his coveted TNT title back, which is hilarious that he had it for like a week and it's his beloved thing. And then
Yeah.
FTR come out to be like, hey, we're all boys from NXT. And they're not. And that was the segment. Does Ciampa get a tag partner now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying Briscoe.
I felt
I
like it
don't.
felt like him and Briscoe together as a team.
I would just prefer him as a singles. Just have him as a singles. Have him have good matches. But yeah, I understand there's a lot of people like him. That's what, it's kind of unfortunate, but what made him interesting was that he came in, which was the shock, but then that he had the championship. And even though it was for 11 days, you were like, oh, he's the champion. And at least that's his identity. And right now you're just like, okay, you're the psycho killer, but you don't even know what to do. You're like scratching your head, you know?
Main event, six-man tag. Guessing you were nuts for this?
Oh, I loved this. I mean, this was phenomenal. Everybody looked fantastic. I'm so happy for Mark Davis, for again something you said earlier, getting like he was on TV, and no matter what, and his no matter what was pretty major. His tag team partner got hurt. They are still putting him on television, and not only are they putting him on television, they make him look like a star every week. Speedball looked like a star this week, like he always does. Uh, Fletcher, I mean, who Okada, like this was yeah, this was so well done. The finish with MJF coming out, hitting Hangman with the ring, and so he's a goner. The only person left to fight is Kevin Knight, but he fought earlier, and oh boy, is he hurt. And so boom, you have new trios champions. Loved this shit. I thought this was really, really well done. And again, I mean, on this show, you had two title matches, and well, three,
Three.
but two world title matches. I mean, and then the trios match, and so and in that match, you had a title change. I thought this whole show was awesome, and this was the right choice. And I don't know if you saw, but they announced that this match is going to happen at Revolution. It's going to be Okada, Davis, and Fletcher versus Jet Speed and Mystico instead of Hangman. Hangman said he reached out to a friend, and Mystico is that friend. So that's a pretty cool match for a pay-per-view. But it's also saying you're not getting a Fletcher singles match at the pay-per-view, and you're not getting an Okada one.
Well, that's the problem with these six-man tag titles is you took it off of people who had champion or potentially had championships at one point where Hangman was world champ. And now you put it on guys who have singles championships. So this
Right.
title is just never going to get defended.
Right, but also they have so many singles that if you defend them all on the pay-per-view, that's another major complaint.
It's a
And we
major
got some
complaint.
great singles on that pay-per-view.
It's a major complaint. My minor nitpick would have been I would not have minded for this match to have been announced this week and pushed to the next week. I get the idea behind the narrative throughout the show, but I feel like it was a big enough six-man tag that if you advertised Hangman and Jet Speed versus Fletcher and Okada and Mark Davis, it could have sold another show. That's all. Minor nitpick,
Yeah,
but that's where I'm at with it. We'll talk high spot, low spots in just a moment. But my favorite thing of the week, it's not a high spot, but it made me laugh to no end. Buddy of mine, listener of the show, Jared, who's another attorney, sent me something from one of the lawsuits that were filed against WWE. And in the lawsuit, they're alleging that WWE was engaging in actions to destroy relevant evidence. And the thing that they used was a text exchange with Nick Khan and Vince McMahon, where Nick Khan texted to Vince Langus, Langis. And then Vince McMahon writes back, "What in the blue hell is Langus?" And Nick Khan goes, "Read it backwards," with an exclamation point, because he was trying to explain to Vince, use the Signal app because Signal deletes. And Vince was so stupid. Like, the angriest I am about the entire Vince McMahon lawsuit is how dumb Vince is about shit that you should be smarter about.
Dang.
And it's like a bad comedy routine. That made me laugh, but let's do legit high spot, low spot for the week, Scott.
My high spots are Raw and Dynamite. Genuinely, I think both shows had one segment I didn't like, which is really impressive. I would say on Raw, it would be the AJ Lee promo. And on Dynamite, it would be the Hangman match that was just unnecessary. And that's like a nitpick. So kudos to those awesome shows. My low spot, I'm also going to have to. I thought Elimination Chamber was just duty. The Elimination Chamber matches themselves were not very fun. The Punk and Balor match was good, but it wasn't better than their first one. And so again, we're like expecting anything to happen on this show, and really nothing happened. Nothing even like sort of Elimination Chamber worthy happened. I think, and we talked about it, the biggest spot was given to Logan Paul when he dove off of one of the odds, which we've seen before. So that was a low spot, because this is, ever since they've debuted on ESPN, they have had very lackluster pay-per-views, and now we're heading to WrestleMania, and everyone's going, uh-oh, like, what's going to happen now? Because if everything you've done since September is proof, you're about to bomb. And my other low spot is, this Rhea Ripley Jade Cargill thing. So Rhea won the Chamber, and then her and Jade were going back and forth on Twitter. On Sunday, it seemed to be a gimmick. I think it maybe started as a gimmick. I don't even know.
It involved Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. And, Chelsea's injured, so she's trying to stir it up. And Piper was Chelsea's, I was going to say heavy, but that sounds mean. But you know what I mean? Like, she was one of her enforcers. And then Rhea got involved. And then Jade, it felt like, took it to a level. And we've been guilty of this in group chat, where you make a joke and then it goes way too far. It turns into the George Costanza, like, the jerk store called and they're running out of you. And then it's, oh yeah, well, I had sex with your wife. And you're like, wait, what? Like, that's where this went. I genuinely think that was where Jade was trying to be edgy. But yeah, that was rough. By the way, breaking news from WWE. Alexandra Williams has been promoted to the vice president and lead writer for Monday Night Raw. She was a senior writer and producer for WWE, and she just announced that she is now the lead writer for Monday Night Raw. And so now it is a female lead writer. And what's so funny about this is the internet is going crazy that, oh my God, it's a female lead writer. 21 years ago, when I was there, our head writer was Stephanie McMahon. It isn't.
She was like 20 something.
Yeah, but this isn't like a revolutionary, like, what a moment for the sport. It's great.
No, this is a beautiful thing. Well, so that's also when we had to cut the recording, I also went online and found out that Road Dogg was fired because they're shaking up the writers' rooms. So that on Raw, and I'm sure we'll see other things, maybe more releases and more promotions or demotions. Maybe Michael Hayes is on his way out.
Michael Hayes is never going to die. So I don't know what monkey's paw Michael Hayes used to get his job, but He's never going anywhere. My low spot is there's a lot to pick from, but the whole situation with WWE and ESPN seems to be a rocky one. There's some folks in ESPN saying like the DNA of these two companies do not mesh well together. ESPN is not happy that WWE is pushing back against viewing parties in Chicago and in Las Vegas. Because as far as ESPN is concerned, like the more viewers, the better. So who cares? And WWE is like, we're trying to sell, fucking tickets over here. Coupled with the fact that it is so complicated for most people to figure out how to access WWE on ESPN that it's not just, all right, I turn on Peacock and there it is. I turn on Netflix and there it is. I turn on ESPN. I subscribe to ESPN Plus, but that's not enough. You have to subscribe to another tier above ESPN Plus to be able to watch it. Yeah. And we need a segment where R-Truth is teaching Angel Garza how to do it. That ain't great. What was great, my high spot of the week was the absolute blast I had at BRCW at the show this weekend. It's always fun to get to work with wrestlers. Some of the folks that were Harley Cameron, can't say enough about how great she is. An absolute professional, absolutely killed it. Matt Riddle was fantastic. Matt Taven is an absolute delight of a human being, as is that dastardly Steve Macklin. Kerry Morton, for a shitty heel, is an absolutely delightful young man. And in what was probably one of the most fun things I've booked in my life was Sorter Fulton of WWE and TNA fame. Was on our show. He's teaming up with Bull James against Kerry Morton and Ben Bishop. And Fulton was not going to be able to make the show because his wife gave birth the day before. So we made some changes to the show. We filmed an angle where he got attacked. And then he tells us day of, actually, I'm going to be able to make the show. We had him borrow a hospital gown. And he stormed in the middle of the match, full on Terry Funk, and wrestled in a hospital gown. So amazing. Much fun. Such a blast. Lot of fun there. Looking forward when that's up on the YouTube. I'll share that with everybody.
Real quick, predictions for, this is kind of crazy. Cody versus Drew McIntyre World Championship match on SmackDown.
You guys will know just how full on panic mode they are if the title changes hands.
Wow. All right.
I would love, best case scenario, Drew retains in some way that leads to a triple threat with Randy and Cody. Worst case scenario, we get Cody and Randy. Drew gets sidelined and doesn't get a marquee world title situation at Mania, which would just suck.
I talked about it on the Patreon with you, but I really think, and I think they should go with Cody versus Orton, and I think there's a real juicy storyline, and I know I feel sorry for Drew, but something about Cody Orton will give me the video packages I long so miss.
Well,
I long so desire. Well,
hoping
anyway.
for that.
And I think Jade Cargill and Rhea will have they're going to use the hell out of this, be professionals, and then have a brawl at Mania because they're not going to be able to have a match, and we'll love it. That's my guess.
I love it. What I also love is getting a chance to do this show with you and all of our Forbidden Dorks. We'll be back this weekend with an exciting Patreon where we will talk all of the fallout from that SmackDown episode. But until then, Scott, what should all the fine men and women do?
Ooh, wash your hands.
Wash your hands, folks.